Hello, my name is Brandon on behalf of Century Fuel Products. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a conversion on a Blackmax 7000 watt 8750 surge. It's being powered by a Honda GX390. It's a very common motor in a lot of these generators today. The first step we are going to be doing is disconnecting the battery. Disconnecting the battery is fairly easy. All you have to do is take off one lead. Here we're going to be taking off the negative. Now that we have that complete, we can start the conversion process. Second step is going to be gapping the spark plug. To remove your spark plug, first you're going to want to take off your distributor cable, and you can just set that aside. Now we're looking at the top of our spark plug, and to remove it, you do want to get one of these sockets, be able to go around the actual head. So we're going to disconnect it now. And our objective here is to gap the spark plug down about 0.010 of an inch. The reason for that is that it helps propane and natural gases starting, so it helps them to start up better. It does not affect the way gasoline performs at all, so you don't have to worry about that. The next thing we're going to want to do is look at our spark plug. Now, to gap a spark plug, what you're doing is you're taking the gap between these two you're taking that space and you're actually making it smaller. This one comes standard at 0.30 of an inch. The way I could tell that is because I got this little gapping tool. You can get them at your local hardware store. And it's 0.30 of an inch. What you do is you stick it in there and you're testing the distance between the sparks. So what we want to do is we want to reduce it 10 thousandths. So if we were at 30 thousandths, we're going to bring it down to 20 thousandths. We're now going to slightly tap this onto a hard surface, preferably metal. You don't want to tap it too hard because you don't want the gap to be too small. You want the gap to be exactly as close as you can possibly get it to 10 thousandths closer than how it came. Gonna tap it right on here, and that did reduce it right to 20. So as you can see, it's a perfect right at 20 thousandths. Now that we have the spark plug gapped, all we got to do is put it back in, and it goes in the exact same way it came out. Now, since we have that done, we put our distributor cable back on. And now we can continue to removing the air cleaner assembly. What you're seeing now is the front face of the Honda GX390. A lot of the air cleaners are different. This one has two clips, and it has a steel plate back here. Some of them don't have this plate. Some of them don't have this cover. A lot of them are different, but this is how Honda made this one. This is how they worked with Blackmax on it. So what we're going to start off doing is we're going to remove these two clips. It's actually just a snap clip, so you just push it back. And then the air cleaner actually just pulls right off. That is the cover. So we can set this aside. Now we're looking at our air filter, and we want to pull this off as well. I'm now removing these 8mm bolts. And what these do, these actually hold it to another cover that's behind it. And then we'll be able to get to our carburetor. There it is, and now this cover comes right off. And now behind it, there is a hose. And what we got to do is there's a little clamp, and we have to take that clamp off. And what we need is we need pliers for that. I got my pliers now, and I'm just going to squeeze these little prongs together and slide it right up like that. And pull that off like there. And now you can set this aside as well. There's two studs here. What those do is those actually hold this whole assembly together. It's pressing it onto the engine block itself in the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these nuts off, and that's going to pull this air cleaner box off as well. We're now going to remove what we've just loosened. Comes right off, very easy. Also, which is very important, there's either going to be a gasket here shaped very similar to this, or there's going to be this little spacer. Okay? When we put our adapter on, it's important that it's not on this side closest to this steel plating, but it's actually on the other side of the adapter over here. The reason is that this form fits onto this, and it's going to be placed on to the adapter when we do put that on. First, we have to install our stud extenders. What we have here is the gasket that's supplied in our conversion kit, as well as these two stud extenders that are going to be threaded over top of these two studs. First, we want to put this gasket on. The second step is to install your stud extenders. There's nothing to it, you just twist it on. Now that we have our stud extenders on, as you can see, we're now going to install our adapter. This is one of our many adapters. It depends on what application you have. The spacing, these two, and those two studs, they fit together. A lot of times these distances can be different. They can be straight, they can be the other way. It really depends. So there is many different types of adapters. What we already did is we already tightened this fitting in the correct position, and we did use pipe sealant. So the pipe sealant allows no leaks for fuel. Just slide the adapter on like that, and there is a flow label on the side of the adapter as well, so you can tell which way that the air is going to be flowing and the fuel. Once you have that on, what we have to do is we have to reinstall our air cleaner assembly. Next, we're going to be putting this cover onto the extension studs, just how it was originally made to go on. If this cover touches this at all, a lot of times you will not be able to slide it back on. It'll be way too close to even get it on. You will have to cut this corner frame out. Now that sometimes is a pain, and that sometimes is a very time-consuming thing, but it is important to do. We do sell brackets that replace what you have cut out, so it it does reinforce the frame. Doesn't affect any way it performs. Now that we have these on, we are going to reinstall our nuts and make sure all this is tight and put together. And we have our gaskets on. We need to make sure everything is just the way it was. So we're going to do that now. Now we're going to screw these back on, and we'll just start with our hand. After you hand tighten them, you are going to want to tighten them very well. We have our 10mm socket here. Now, these are sensitive, so you do not want to over tighten them. If you over tighten them, they can snap. We got our cover on, we have our adapter in the back, everything is looking good, and now we'll proceed to put the next cover on. We now are going to reinstall the second cover. Now the cover has been put on. Next, all we have to do is put on that face cover. Before we put on this face cover, we want to make sure that we put our air filter back in. Now, if this is really dirty, you may want to go to a hardware store and get some filter cleaner. It's very important to keep your filter clean because that can affect performance, even if you are running propane and natural gas. Now we're going to be putting the cover on. There's two things in the back over here. You want to make sure those slide through. They're little hinges. And now you just clip these back on. Now that we have our air cleaner installed, we do have a connection right here to hold the bottom of the air cleaner so it's not rattling when the engine's running. What we actually give you in the kit is an extra stud extender. One of the stud extenders that actually is going right in here, right behind the adapter. It's the stud extender that's holding it on. So we also give you an extra one here. In this case, it's actually threaded right here, so we can just screw it on, and then from this back side behind this plate, all you got to do is it slides right through and you just tighten it in. So that's pretty basic. Another thing is that there's a breather tube that is connected from. Now we're going to slide this other breather tube right on here, just like we took it off. Let's slide the hose on and then use our pliers to bring that clip back over to hold it up. Also, after you get that connected, you'll notice that there previously was a breather tube from here over into the overhead valve. Now, it would swing right through this steel casing. It was once a whole piece, but now I have to make it longer because we pushed the air cleaner box out. It wouldn't be able to fit. So we got to pull it apart, and in the kit, we supply one of these, which is a PVC pipe, but we also can use it for making this longer. So what we're going to do is we're just going to slide the hose right over top of it, like that. And we're going to slide the other end like that, so it makes it longer. Now the next thing we got to do is we got to swing it on through here. Make sure it doesn't get caught up on anything. May have to come in at a different angle to get it through. Yep. It's better to come in from over top. Now there is a distributor cable there. Whatever way it gets around it, that works. Now, you put it inside there, just like I did. You make sure it's in. A lot of times that can be tricky, getting it in. And now, the extension is perfect. And now your adapter's installed, and the next thing to do is to mount the regulator. When you're mounting the regulator, you do want to make sure that it is away from exhaust fumes as well as away from access to your spark plug. So it really is up to you where you are going to put it ultimately. A very common location people put it is either in the middle, right up in here. Some people put it here because there's still access to your spark plug, and it is somewhat distant away from your exhaust. Now, we chose to actually mount it right over here on the bottom frame rail. Now there's two bolts that hold this other frame onto this one, so we're just going to actually take these bolts right off. What we want to do is we just want to remove these two bolts. So actually, to get under here, I got to lift it up a little bit, and now I am under it. Now these are the two holes that the bolts were going through, and they're being held on by two nuts under here. What we are going to do is we're actually going to use this bracket here, and we're going to drill a hole through it in order to mount this bracket to this frame. This is the previous one. This is how it originally looks. And this is how it looks now. This bracket actually goes on like this. We have a 3/4 inch nipple. What we did is we used some pipe sealant and we screwed that in, as well as this 3/4 inch 90-degree elbow. Female on both sides. Once you have this all connected, you are ready to mount it. Do not mount this onto the bracket, onto the frame, until you've put this assembly together. Because if you have it on and you try cranking it, it will snap. This bracket can bend. Also, you do want to have on the outlet your power valve. Now, this power valve controls how much fuel goes into your engine. It's time now to mount our bracket with the regulator on it to our frame. What we have here is a custom piece of 1/2-inch vapor hose. It comes in a 30-foot length. That is for different mounting places. Say you mount your regulator on the other side. Well, you need 30 inches of hose to get here. What we need is we only need about 6 or 7 inches here. So what we need to do is it actually slides on fairly easily. You just twist it on like that to one side, and then you also twist it over here onto this power valve here. So now it's on. It's a perfect fit. Now what we need to do is we need to tighten our clamps right at the edge. Alright, and now we have our regulator mounted, we got our hose connected to our adapter, everything's tight, all the breather tubes are back together.